The river didn't whisper a warning when it began to swell. No alarms blared. No frantic yells echoed, just the steady creep of water over barriers, devouring patios and inching toward 86 upscale villas as if it had every right to reclaim what was stolen. I didn't bolt for safety or dial emergency lines. I simply observed, because when folks pave over wild land, they forget that the earth has its own brutal ledger to balance. They tried to wipe out my riverbank, even summoned the authorities to shove me aside. But this spot knows its true master, and every so often, it strikes back with a vengeance. One crisp autumn dawn in the late 1990s, I jolted awake to the thunder of excavators. It felt like a cargo plane had crash-landed right behind my cabin. I staggered out in my flannel pajamas, rubbing sleep from my eyes, and froze at the sight. There was Sophia Grant, in her sharp blazer and stilettos, clipboard clutched like a shield, smirking as if she'd just conquered a kingdom. She'd quietly snapped up the adjacent plot along Willow Creek and kicked off construction on those villas without a peep to the locals. Spotting my stunned face, she waved cheerily over the din and hollered, "This is progress, Ethan. We own this now, we can shape it however we damn well please." What hit me harder, the ungodly hour of 5 a.m. startup or her gleeful satisfaction at my dismay? In hindsight, that was her opening salvo in a war I never asked for. Dust storms whipped up like desert devils, machinery snarled relentlessly, and the creek turned murky brown, bloated with lifeless trout. It tore at my core, seeing this serene Havenme family's refuge since my grandfather engineered it in the 1960s, ravaged by steel beasts. The racket drowned out thought. My neighbor's cat yowled endlessly, and folks peered from curtains with matching dread. At first, I wondered if I was blowing it out of proportion, maybe I'd adapt to the clamor. But a knot in my gut screamed this was the prelude to hell. I even attempted civility, baking apple pies and approaching her amid the frenzy. She eyed the tray coolly, her gaze sharpening like a blade. "Ethan, darling, you ought to wise up. This creek? It'll be under our control before long." Her words dripped certainty, as if she'd mapped out my defeat ages ago. I stood there like a fool, pies cooling in my hands, while she pivoted back to her crew, brushing me off like lint. Defeat simmered into rage that night, the kind that coils in your chest and ignites your veins. I rummaged through attic crates of my grandfather's archives, deeds, surveys, faded letters to town hall. Buried under yellowed maps, I unearthed his original schematics for the creek, annotated in his precise script. Crisis overflow mechanism activate only if creek faces peril, unleashes subterranean aquifers. I pored over the sketch, heart racing. Grandpa had crafted this waterway decades back, but I'd never heard of a hidden flood regulator. He'd always preached that the creek was the soul of our valley, with built-in defenses against threats. I dismissed it as folksy wisdom, but here was proof. A covert hydraulic network unknown to surveyors or bureaucrats. Holding those plans, a surge of inherited might coursed through me. She had designs to obliterate my claim, but Grandpa had foreseen predators like her. Within days, no entry placards sprouted like weeds every few yards, turning the site into a fortress. Then came the barrage of menacing missives from the neighborhood association's lawyers, stiff envelopes reeking of intimidation. Evening patrols by Sophia became ritual, her shadow looming like she ruled the entire hollow. They slapped up towering barricades, severing my childhood trail to the water 10-foot steel panels more suited to a penitentiary. Piles of debris choked the air with rot, forcing me to seal windows against the stench. Worst was the constant surveillance. Cameras tracked my every step, hunting for infractions. Paranoia gnawed how wouldn't crack under that gaze. They dinged me $10,000 for my backyard turtles, deeming them ecological hazards. I chuckled bitterly at the absurdity. Were my harmless pets suddenly public enemies? That fine crystallized their lunacy. Then, a twist, an ensign note slid under my door. This built's unlawful. Scrutinize Permit Clause 15. Allies exist. Attached, a ripped association bylaw, underlined. All projects must adhere to national wetland mandates. Who was this phantom helper? I grew wary. Was it a snare? But I pivoted to offense, snapping timestamp pics of their toxic spills, logging every breach. If they craved dirt, I'd bury them in proof. At the next town hall showdown, I slammed my dossier on the podium, the thud echoing like thunder. This venture skips vital eco-checks and reeks of bribes to officials. Photos, tapes workers confessing shortcuts. Sophia blanched, her poise fracturing as she shrieked for guards to haul me out. "Ethan, you're trespassing," I roared back. "I'm a resident exposing ruin." The chamber hushed, eyes darting hero or madman. Post-meeting, Sophia unleashed her fury. My power and water vanished under grid maintenance pretexts, while neighbors' homes hummed on. I boiled creek water by lantern, chuckling darkly at the farce, but the chill showers and isolation wore thin. Whispers poisoned alliances, old pals averted gazes, buying her smears that I despised growth. Nights amplified doubts, shadows mocking my resolve. Yet Grandpa's blueprint haunted Maya's desperate gambit. Then, intel from my secret source. At a closed-door session, Victor Hayes, once Sophia's staunch ally, ambushed her. His daughter, a hydrologist, had reviewed the blueprints and flagged, "Dad, erecting this near water without barriers is suicide." Victor grilled her on safeguards. She stammered, evading as board members piled on. Later, he slipped me an ancient flood map, crimson-marked, zone unsuitable for dense builds. That nod from his passing silhouette. Solidarity, but trust felt fragile. My gripes drew eco-watchdogs and journalists, panicking Sophia into her dirtiest ploy. Cops at my door, badges gleaming, to boot me from the cabin Grandpa raised me in. "Officer, he's squatting on association turf," she cooed, flourishing forged papers in her tailored ensemble. I stammered. "This is my birthright, taxes paid for generations." Confusion reigned. They suggested I vacate pending review. Earlier, she'd preened on local TV. "Creek Haven Estates will elevate our town luxury amid untapped beauty." Her hypocrisy boiled my blood. That eviction stunt snapped something primal. Tracing the schematic, resolve hardened. They aim to erase Grandpa's legacy? Let's unleash the deluge. Old George dropped by with kerosene and stew, sensing my edge. "Ethan, once you trigger that, no rewind," he murmured, eyes wise. He'd known Grandpa's secret for years. A timid knock followed. "I'm Lucas Reed, ex-association engineer." He thrust files, tampered reports, shoddy foundations, memos unveiling codes. Fired for ethics, he feared Sophia's wrath, but armed me for battle. Under a raging Thursday squall in early winter, I suited up, wetsuit, torch, wrenches, and plunged into the inky depths, silt grinding my teeth. The mechanism loomed like a forgotten relic, corroded shut. Lungs ablaze, I wrenched until joints screamed. A metallic wail heralded release. Aquifers erupted, the creek bloating ferociously. Surfacing, I watched from afar, diggers mired, beams afloat, yells piercing the gale. By dawn, pandemonium reigned, basements drowned, electric sparked, crews fled as a mixer truck listed and sank. Sophia materialized, ashen and shrieking. "This isn't rain sabotage." Demanding arrests, she flailed in muddied heels. George feigned ignorance to badges, saw the rise at first light nature's whims. I chimed innocently. Underground flows surge unpredictably. Victor boomed. "Blame her skimping on drains in a floodplain." I flagged it. Media swarmed. 86 villas submerged at Creek Haven, millions lost. Probes unearthed horrors, bypassed wetlands laws, payoffs, frail bases. Investors stormed offices, torching deals in fury. Sophia crumbled. Penalties stripped her fortunes, forcing auctions of her mansion and fleet. The association folded, land seized. With settlement funds, I spearheaded revival, hauling wreckage, replanting natives, restocking fish. A creek renewal, gathering bonded us. Kids' banners thanked the savior. But the true marvel? Waters ebbed mysteriously, baffling scientists. Secretly, I dove repeatedly, easing the valve shut, honoring Grandpa's equilibrium genius. To queries, I grinned. Perhaps hidden hydraulics at play. Locals hailed me creek warden. Apologies flowed with potlucks. George, Victor, Lucas thrived anew. Peace returned mornings with coffee by the oak Grandpa planted, frogs crooning over engines. The creek flourished, birds reclaiming skies, blooms rioting shores. Yet, as serenity settled, I pondered, was flooding justice or vengeance? Did I overstep, wrecking livelihoods for legacy? The valve slumbers, a sentinel for threats. Some dub it divine. I know it's engineered fate. What do you think? Was I a hero defending nature, or a vigilante playing God? Should greed always face ruin, even if innocents suffer? Drop your take below, hit like if it stirred you, and subscribe for more raw tales that challenge the line between right and wrath. Where are you tuning in from?